You got
I'm
it?
listening.
Oh, okay. All right. This is this is called the QCR Mini, which is by So Kind of Wonderful. It's a ruler, and it's we're going to demonstrate it this morning using it with the mini pumpkins. But when you get your ruler, you open it up. There is a little pattern inside for you to do immediately and to practice. So that gives you an easy way to start using the ruler. But what I had used it on is the pumpkin, which was a little pattern that they did. And when you look at it, it'll say QCR Mini. That means you're using the mini. If it just says QCR, like this, is a different color, it's using the bigger one. And it's because it's bigger curves. It's bigger pieces. So you get your melons and all of that. So the first thing you'll do is when you open it from the back here, you pull it out and you see it's got all the brown on it. So the first thing I had to do was go, oh, I better take that off so I can see. So now you can see the ruler. This is what we want to end up with, is pieces like this that get sewn together. So this should go right here. It got moved. So according to the directions, it's really simple to use. They have you cut 3.5 by 6-inch pieces, and that's going to make these two pieces that go right here and here that are sewn together here and here. So they have you take a couple of 3.5 by 6-inch pieces, and the important thing is that you're going to line it up. They always tell you between the 1 and 7-inch mark on your ruler. So 1 and 7. So you're centering it so that your curve is centered. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. On these directions for this particular one, and each pattern will be different, they tell you to line this up between those two marks and then put it on the 2.5-inch mark right here. So you're basically going to do, where's my little cutter? Oh no, my little cutter's down at the thing. Okay, I'll try it with this. No, I'll try it with this one. Sorry. Okay. So it's best if you have a smaller cutter. It will work with a big cutter. So you can see we're on between 1 and 7, and I'm at 2.5 inches on the fabric. They say you can cut 3 or 4. I like to just go like that. Well, it didn't quite go through because the cutter is not got a new blade. Okay, let's do it again here. So you're going to want to make sure that goes through there. Thank you, Cheryl. That's my lovely assistant, Cheryl. Okay, so there ends up your two pieces. So you can see how that looks. It goes on a centerpiece. So now the next thing you're going to do is, now you can clean that up a little bit if you do what I did. Okay. You're using the same piece. This is going to cut your two outer pieces. So it tells you on here to go ahead and line up at the 3.5-inch mark, which means from this edge between 1 and 7 again, you make sure that point is at 3.5 on your thing. Now it might look a little crooked, but you can see where it's making the right size there. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So again, you're going to hold it down, put some pressure, and again with a smaller cutter, it will cut a little bit easier. Yeah. Okay. This is why you need a new blade when you do this. Okay. So see how those line up? Yeah. So it also tells you in there then to just cut, for the centers, you're cutting 1.5 by 5.5, which makes it like this. So when you sew these together, they get pulled in a little bit. They're easy to sew, but they do get pulled in a little bit. And so this is the size it will be, 5.5. So you're going to trim it up when you're finished. So when you sew it, you start with your make sure you've got the 1/4 inch for the seam allowance on both sides. So if you're a pinner, or if you've not done this before, just pin here, and you'll get down to less pins the more often you do this. Believe me, by the time I was done, and I was putting a pin at the top, and that was it. And I pinned one at the bottom, and I lined it up at the top, and I just started right through it. You get very used to it. I press my seams to the outside because they naturally went that way. So it went for, and then when I was all done, I just simply put it together, and you can trim it up with this being your width, and it tells you to do that in the pattern. So it's really kind of simple. You can see when you open this up what you're doing, and they show you how to, this is, I'm not sure what this means. Oh, this is when you, if you want to, oh, you have to cut a 3rd piece. I'm sorry. This is your outside one. This is your background piece. This one right here. See this? You can't see it very well. So that's also a curved seam. So then that's making your 3rd one, where they tell you to cut it based on 2 3/4. Repeat all, and these are all 6 inches, so they end up 5 1/2. Stack gray position between the 1 and 7, and you do it at 2 3/4. So that can't be. Yes. That doesn't make sense. Sorry. Upside down, it doesn't make sense to me. Oh, you cut this 2 3/4, and then you start it there, and that gives you this outside piece. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So it's really just, it looks like it's harder than it is, and then you can square it up here the way they show you. And you'll end up with a piece like this, and then you sew it to your center, which is the last thing you do, and then you trim, you should be trimmed up, but in case, you can trim it up again. And then you add your top on, which is just a simple, you make your strip with your green on the top, and this on both sides, and you cut those the width. I think they're 1 1/2 inches wide. So, you have any questions? You want to try it? You want to try doing it? Okay.
And will this be posted on Facebook?
Yes.
So I can refer back to it?
Yes. So it's really a matter of following exactly what they say, with this being at the right mark, 2 1/2. That gives you the right depth you have there.
Okay.
Okay, so we can do it again, just real quick so that you can see it. And I used all different kinds of fabrics on mine.
Mm-hmm. I like that.
But you could do all white and all orange, whatever way you liked it. So it said what? Line up between the 1 and 7. That's your most important. If I were you, just take and put a piece of tape here and here, so that you know you're between that. And that 2 1/2, and then you go. With a small blade, which is what I thought I brought with me. It's probably down in the office. It'll make those 2 pieces. So, and then you just, again, starting with this longest end, in between 1 and 7, you're going to be at 3 1/2. And once you do this a couple times, you'll go, oh, I know where I'm supposed to be now. Okay. Mm-hmm. Makes complete sense. So it's going to give you your width that you need. So, you want to try it?
Yep, I'm good.
Okay. All right.
I trust you.
Okay. It's really not hard. It's just, you gotta measure once, measure twice, cut once. And like I said, if you have do you both have a smaller cutter?
I think I do. I need to get one.
Yeah. So either an 18 or a 28 millimeter.
Yeah.
It's just not as much cumbersome to go through there. You can do it with your big one. A 60 might be tough. The really big ones, that might be tough. But I'd say the smallest one is your easiest chance for success. So, and I'm sure that this one is even easier, although it's about the same amount of curve. I mean, but this one's going to be easier.
And there's no scrap. You use
Yeah.
the
No,
whole thing.
no, you do, and yes, because they tell you how to cut this 3.5 by 6. So that's all you need. You have a little bit left, and that's it. So no, not bad at all. No
Yeah.
scraps.
Wow.
So